Okay, boys and girls, welcome to my YouTube channel. So in today's class, we are going to discuss about data types. Okay, before we start talking about data types, I would like to take you back now to the previous class. In the previous class, we discussed about identifiers. Okay, we have what we call identifiers. And I say identifiers are user-defined objects. Okay, they are defined by the user. They are defined by the user. Examples, we have what we call variables. We also have what we call constants. We also have what we call functions. These are examples of identifiers. In the next class, we are going to discuss about variables. We are going to discuss about variables in the next class. But see, there is something that I want to explain here. I want to talk about data types. So try to understand. What is a variable? See, a variable is an identifier. Okay, a variable is an identifier. I think you can see I said variable is an example of an identifier. So a variable is an identifier. What is the use of these identifiers? What is the use of these variables? Okay, so a variable is described as a container. Is described as a container. A variable is described as a container. See, I'm saying a variable is described as a container. If a variable is being described as a container, what is the purpose of a container? The purpose of a container is to store. If you have a container, that juice bottle, you can call it a container. In that juice bottle, you can store juice, you can put water there, right? So the juice bottle is holding water, the juice bottle is storing what? Is storing juice, right? So the purpose of a container is to store something. So a variable is described as a container. So what is a variable? A variable is nothing but an identifier which is used to store a data item. Is used to store data item. So see, let's say you have a container. Likewise, I mentioned now you have a container. In a container, let's say it's an empty container. It's an empty bottle. You have an empty bottle. You all know an empty bottle. You have an empty bottle. In an empty bottle, you can store what? You can store water, right? You can store milk, right? Different things you can store. You can store water, you can store milk, you can also store what? You can also store orange in the what? In the empty bottle. This empty bottle is the container. Okay. Likewise, I am trying to say a variable is a container. It is going to store a data item. This data item, it can be of any data type. It can be of any data type. It can be of any data type. Like here, an empty bottle can store water. The same empty bottle you can store milk. The same empty bottle you can store orange juice. You can store orange juice. Here likewise, the variable you can store data item. This data item can be of any data type. It can be an integer. Okay, this data item, this data item, it can be a float again. It can be a current. See, now I'm talking about data types. The data item, it can be of any data type. The data item, it can be of any data type. Now we want to talk about these data types. We want to talk about these data types. We have different types of data types. We have what we call primitive data types. We also have what we call user-defined data types. We also have what we call derived data types. So these are the three different types of what? Of data types. So the data type decides the value that can be stored by an identifier. So this is going to decides the value that can be stored by an identifier. Okay, it decides the value that can be stored by an identifier. And in this case, I am giving an example of this variable. Remember, a variable is an identifier. In this case, I'm giving variables as an example. So the data type is going to decide the value that can be stored by an identifier. So the data type is going to tell us that this variable is storing this. This variable is storing this. Likewise, if you say int a semicolon, this is what we call a variable. Okay, so this is what we call a data type. Okay, this is what we call data type. Int is the data type. A is nothing but a variable. Okay, so if you write int a, it means this variable is going to store a what? Is going to store an integer. Is it okay? If you write float b semicolon, this is also a variable. It's okay. This is a variable. This float is nothing but a what? This is also a data type. This simply means this variable is going to store a what? It is going to store a decimal number. Float simply means decimal number. B is going to store a decimal number. A is going to store an integer. So the data type decides the value that can be stored by an identifier. The data type is going to decide the value that can be stored by an identifier. Okay, we have different types of data types: primitive data types, user-defined data types, and derived data types. Okay, now, so under primitive we have four data types. What are the four data types? We have integer, we have float, we have character, we also have what we call character, we also have what we call void. So these are the four primitive data types. Primitive data types are also called primary data types. They are also called primary data types. Okay, so see, what is the keyword for an integer? Go and refer to that list of keywords that I provided in the previous class. The keyword for integer is int. Okay, in small letters, please. The keyword for float is nothing but float. Okay, the keyword for void is nothing but void. The keyword for character is nothing but char. So the keyword for character is char. The keyword for void is void. The keyword for integer is int. The keyword for float is nothing but float. We have the user-defined data types. Under user-defined data types, we have structure, union, and enumeration. Okay, we have structure, union, and enumeration. Okay, here the keyword for structure is structure. We are going to discuss this into detail. Okay, right. The keyword for union is nothing but union. Okay, then the keyword for enumeration is nothing but enum. Like this. This is the keyword. Okay, right. Then we have what we call derived data types. Derived data types, they are derived from what? As the name suggests, derived data types. These are data types that are derived from the primitive. That is the primary data types. Okay. Examples of these derived data types, we have array, pointer, and function. We have array, pointer, and functions. Okay, we are going to discuss about these things later. This is all about the data types. So the data type is going to decide the value that can be stored by an identifier. Different types of data types are primitive data types, user-defined data types, and derived data types. We have an integer, float, character, and void. Integer, the keyword is int. Float, the keyword is float. Character, the keyword is char. Void, the keyword is void. Different types of user-defined data types are structure, union, and enumeration. Different types of derived data types, we have array, pointer, and function. Thank you, boys and girls. I will see you in the next class.